Today is a big day for the wage talks between government and public servants. Earlier this week, government made it clear once again there was no money for increases, but they were hoping to improve other aspects of the offer. Unions are saying they want 7% to cope with the cost of living that has increased significantly in the past year. Well, to give us the latest, I'm joined by December Mavuso, Deputy General Secretary of Health Workers Union at Nehawu. Good evening, sir, and thank you so much for your time. I understand, am I right, the talks are continuing this evening?
Yes, good evening. We can confirm that the talks started early this morning at 10. They are continuing up to now. We're not sure at what point we will adjourn, but probably we've agreed that we should work until late in the night to see if something can come out of these negotiations.
Are you able to tell us if you have been able to make any progress? Could you tell us what the revised offer was that government put on the table this morning?
Look, we can give a proper feedback later today when the negotiations have adjourned. I don't want to really disclose the discussions inside there. Secondly, I'm not a negotiator myself. I'm not inside there. But gauging from what the minister said yesterday in his press statement, we're not sure if we will achieve what we hope to achieve today, because clearly the minister he took to the media yesterday and he conducted negotiations, something unprecedented and something that we should condemn. We've been saying to them that they are taking collective bargaining. Clearly what he did yesterday was undermining the process of negotiations that is unfolding today. So we want to give the negotiators a chance. Let's see what they will present. I'm aware that late this evening, they are coming back to deal with the issue of the cost of living adjustment, because earlier on they were dealing with other issues related to conditions of service. So we will wait and hear. But as I'm saying, hopefully it is not what the minister said yesterday, because that was totally unacceptable and wrong.
Yes, and Nehawu also issued a statement in response to that. Am I correct that if you don't make progress at these talks, there will be a strike? Just tell us what will happen if you don't make an agreement today.
We made it clear yesterday in our statement that if nothing comes out of these negotiations today, we're likely to declare a deadlock, and therefore invoke the deadlock breaking mechanisms and processes within the constitution of the PSCBC. You know that the constitution of the PSCBC provides a mechanism, including the fact that any party can declare a deadlock if there's no agreement within 21 days. And we are there now, where you remember that these workers were supposed to receive their salary increase from the 1st of April. They haven't received it. And this is in addition to what has already happened last year, that they did not receive also the increase. So we can't delay these negotiations further. We can't prolong them. If it has to come to an end today, that will happen. It will depend on what the employer says.
It's quite an interesting situation for Nehawu, because I think there's a great deal of sympathy for the healthcare workers who've literally put their lives on the line in this last year fighting this pandemic. Do you think that healthcare workers should be given any special concessions in this negotiation? I know that it tends to be seen as one block public servants, but the reality is public health workers were on the front line fighting this pandemic, where a lot of other public servants simply weren't able to go to work because of the lockdown, but didn't have the kind of risks that the health workers did. Do you think they deserve something extra?
We did last year say that they deserve something extra. We put a demand for an allowance for them, for a special allowance as they were fighting the pandemic. Until today, we've not been able to resolve that issue. As part of these negotiations, we have brought back that demand for the frontline workers. It is part of this discussion that in addition to the cost of living adjustment, salary increase, we must look at what else we can do for these frontline workers because as they continue to battle this pandemic, they're still in the front line. So it's not a demand that we've put aside. It is part of these negotiations.
While I have you, I have to ask you about the pause in the eNCA vaccine rollout for healthcare workers. It's been, gosh, I think nearly 10 days that we've had a pause. How concerned is Nehawu for healthcare workers, bearing in mind it's been 10 days lost that vaccinations could have been given out for your workers?
We have expressed our concern many times. This, start and stop process of government has been frustrating. We'd hope by now that all frontline workers would have received the vaccine. We'd hope that we would have moved to phase 2, but we don't know whether this is leadership problems of what in our government. But we're very concerned because there's a talk of a third wave. And just yesterday, there was a report that there are 3 provinces which shows signs of increase in terms of infections, and the scientists are worried about that, and yet we're still struggling with the issue of the vaccine. So it's a very big concern. And we think government really needs to step up. Otherwise, we're going to compromise the whole society.
All right. Well, thank you so much for chatting to us this evening. Please keep us abreast of any developments with those talks, which, as you say, continue into the evening tonight. December Mavuso, Deputy General Secretary of Health Workers Union, Nehawu, speaking to us. He's outside, of course, the talks that are underway with government to try and reach a wage agreement with public servants. Still ahead.